this is going to be a strange holiday season, and I'm not talking about just trying to hide out from those of you in California, New York, the UK, Australia. I mean, right now, I cannot possibly imagine in my state, no matter how many people showed up at my house for Thanksgiving or Christmas, I just don't see that happening here at all. Not yet. I mean, I'm disappointed with Ducey in a lot of things, but he's not Cuomo. he's not these types of people. So we're probably not going to have that kind of issue. But this is going to be a completely different holiday season, isn't it? I mean, last year, the economy's roaring along. Most of us are doing a whole lot better than we're doing now, unless you happen to own a Target store or Walmart or Amazon. They're all making they are all making record profits. Record profit. The mom and pop stores, they're all dead. Half the restaurants dead. So choice, freedom to do things differently, who cares about that? The big stores are still pumping along. And for most of us, hey, as long as we can get our toilet paper and our favorite food, we don't really care. We don't see that once they have complete control, then they control us, not us controlling them. Because we got no place to go. Once that's the only place to go, that's it. Now they have monopoly, and they get to tell you what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and when you're going to do it in the whole 9 yards. You'll see. Those of you that are just going along with the flow, you'll see eventually. Anyway, I'm hoping we're going to have some time to try to convince you of that and maybe get you involved in putting the brakes on this and going the other direction and convincing people that liberty and freedom is actually a good thing. That's how humans flourish, and that God made us that way. And if we would submit to his ways, we will flourish. If we submit to man's ways, we will not. And that's all there is to it. But back to Thanksgiving and Christmas. There are some of you who do not celebrate either holiday, only a few, and many who do not celebrate the Christmas season. I'm not going to get into argue with them about. I would not mind debating someone on that someday, because I think there's not only really fascinatingly good evidence for the December 25th, January 6th season. That's the 12 days of Christmas. As having, there's no question that it has ancient roots in the church. There's no question that the idea that was from Mithraism or anything else is stupid. There's no question that's the stuff about the Sol Invictus, and because the pagans were giving gifts and the Christians could give gifts too and nobody'd catch them. Baloney. The earliest references to those dates come from Christian sources themselves, and it was the very time when paganism was declining and Christianity is on the ascent. There would be no reason for them to be borrowing from stuff like that and doing that kind of thing. It's a narrative that is so old it just falls apart upon really pushing on it, but no one ever pushes on it, because you just hear it repeated over and over again. Oh, okay, well, I guess that's how. And you hear it from Christians all the time, maybe well-meaning, but they just didn't know what they were talking about. Anyway, maybe this season I'll go back over like I did. Man, I don't know how many years ago it was now. I went over Roger Beckwith's article on the order of the priests and what we can learn from when Zechariah would have been ministering in the temple as to the time frame, as to when John's birth would be and Jesus' birth. We know they're related, obviously, to one another. A lot of people found that fascinating. It's complicated stuff. It's not the easiest stuff to try to discuss. But there is a good reason for this time of the year, and there is a good reason for the dates that have come, and there's a good reason for rejecting the standard narrative of pagan borrowing, blah 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 blah. So if you're not, if you were converted out of one of the ancient Roman cults, all four of you, If you were converted out of one of the ancient Roman cults and therefore have a conscience issue, great, you can step aside for just a moment. I'll get to the text of Scripture here with something else in a moment. But for the rest of us who find it perfectly appropriate to sit in awe of one of the most amazing, really seems to be the most amazing claim of the Christian faith, and that is the God who holds together this massive universe entered into his own universe. That's stunning. Outside of a work of the Spirit of God, there's no way. Especially today, now that we know. I mean, in the ancient world, you could make the argument, in the ancient world, people thought that the world was it. And that generally it was pretty small. We now know that our solar system is a speck, a dot. We're doing really cool stuff right now, sending probes off to Mars and Jupiter and Saturn, and we've actually sent 2 probes outside the solar system now. We launched them back in the 70s. And let me tell you something. We're making... What do you think about it? I had a 1972 Buick LeSabre. Remember that thing? The brown bomb. Rich remembers it. I had a 1972 Buick LeSabre. And the highest tech on that, other than the AM, FM radio, was the air conditioning slider had a little green light on it. I thought that was so cool. It was so almost Star Trek-ish, you know? There's a little green light down here. That we've actually made that level of tech continue to work for 40 years now since we launched those babies. And they're still working. They're still beaming data back to us after leaving the solar system. But that's as far as we've gone. And our solar system is a speck, a tiny little spot in a massive galaxy that is one of 100 billion galaxies. And so it's fully understandable once you begin to comprehend the size of this creation, that when we tell people that the creator, the maker of all of this, entered into his own creation to give his life for us, and that's going to glorify him, the world says that's foolishness. Paul was right. The world says that was foolishness. And I get it. I get it. So when we consider what we are really celebrating, it is an astonishing thing. And it goes so beyond Santa Claus and reindeer and all the rest of that kind of stuff. It's not even funny. I get that too. I hope you understand that too. But when we approached it this year, and I'm adjusting the, doesn't seem like the fan kicked on, so it's getting a little bit warmer in here. This year, I'm thinking we might have a little more focus. I mean, I've always tried in my family, and my family will tell you that I've tried, to bring a focus, a theological focus, a real consideration. My favorite family devotion is to look at Isaiah chapter 9, the prophecy that comes hundreds of years before Jesus, and the depth of that prophecy. A child is born to us, a son is given to us, and the differentiation, the language, and I've done that for decades. Really have. They'll tell you I have. So much so that they could all do it themselves, I think. But most of us are now in a situation where we cannot do for Christmas, as far as gift giving, traveling, stuff that I did last year, and I had these buttons made up for at church last year. I'm not going to be able to do that this year. My income's been cut in half since last year. So grandma and grandpa aren't going to be able to do nearly as much as we did for the grandkids. And a lot of us are in the same situation. I certainly, at my age, expect anything unless someone stumbles across my Amazon gift list who happens to be making a lot of money off of investment in Walmart or something like that. I might get some socks this year. I don't know. So that kind of thing can't get in the way. But hopefully we have really learned a lot about how important family is. And maybe getting all that stuff out of the way might help us to really spend some time thinking about incarnation and what it means. Incarnation and what it means. So my suggestion, since it's coming fast, we're almost done with October. Got Reformation Sunday coming up. I'm sorry if I disappointed you and didn't do Reformation stories. Maybe we will next week. Just throw a couple in for the fun of it. But it takes time to do quality Advent incarnation stuff. It's sort of hard to do the night before. So, dads, if you're taking seriously your role to give some guidance there, now's the time to be getting at it. Well, actually, a little bit past time, but still time to... Because I think the two of them, Thanksgiving and Christmas, just go together so perfectly. Because ultimately, the ultimate reason for Thanksgiving is found in the giving of God in Christmas, in the Incarnation, in the Advent. And just in passing, and I'll stop this. A number of years ago, 10 years ago, sort of got all messed up because my mom passed away. But I had what I think is still a good idea. We tried to do something to where we actually did the 12 days of Christmas. Because I think one of the things that's bad about the American way of doing things is you have a single day and you blow everything on that one day, and then the next day you've got the post-holiday blues. And you really don't have time in that one day. There's so much to be done to actually do much in the way of reflection. And so 10 years ago, it's 2010, we tried it. I suggested it to my family. We tried to do something for the 12 days, because that's how they used to do it. Between December 25th and January 6th, the Eastern Orthodox, their Christmas is January 6th. And I'll be honest with you, they've got a pretty good argument. Historically, there's a good argument for the January 6th date. But, I mean, there's no argument that's absolutely, we found a papyrus that says, boom, this is the date. But the two dates together have really good historical foundation to them. And I'm trying to think about how to try to do that and make it special, especially for the grandkids, without it being attached to stuff, to trinkets, that kind of thing. So let's all think about it together. Let's make it an important time.